When you're sitting at a desk trying to decide whether a $4,000 plus laptop is worth the splurge, the first thing that comes to mind is usually, what will I actually use it for? I've been in that spot more than once, and the hesitation usually boils down to three questions. Will it handle the workloads I throw at it day after day? Is the price justified compared to a desktop or a less expensive laptop? And if I buy the wrong machine, will it sit in a corner gathering dust? In this review, I'm going to walk through those exact concerns with the HP ZBook Fury G11, a 16-inch mobile workstation that's marketed as a powerhouse for creators, engineers, and anyone who needs serious compute on the go. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's start with the kind of work this machine is built for. The ZBook Fury G11 ships with a 14th Gen Intel Core i9-14900HX, 64 GB of RAM, and a 1 TB SSD. In plain English, that means you're looking at a CPU that can juggle dozens of threads, enough memory to keep dozens of heavy applications open, and storage that won't scream for space after a few large video projects. For a video editor who works with 8K raw footage, a CD engineer running multiple assemblies in SolidWorks, or a data scientist training models on the laptop itself, those resources translate directly into fewer render queues, smoother viewport navigation, and the ability to keep datasets locally instead of offloading to external drives. I tested the machine on a typical day in my home studio. The first task was opening a 25-minute 8K video in DaVinci Resolve, trimming a few clips, and applying a color grade. The timeline populated instantly, and playback stayed buttery even when I added a few adjustment layers. On a separate monitor, I ran a Revit model of a multi-story building with a lot of linked families and a high-resolution rendering preview. The model responded quickly, and I could toggle between 3D and 2D views without noticeable lag. That's a practical strength you won't see on a consumer-grade laptop with a mid-range processor, the ability to keep those heavy creative apps alive simultaneously. But the ZBook isn't just about raw horsepower. It's also about how that power is delivered in a portable chassis. The 16-inch screen is a 3840x2400 panel, which gives you roughly 220 ppi. For anyone who spends hours looking at detailed schematics or color-critical footage, that density is a genuine time saver. The extra screen real estate lets you line up timelines and tool palettes side by side without resorting to external monitors. The display also supports the Intel WM790 chip, which handles multiple displays and offers a stable output for presentations or client demos. In my workflow, I could connect the laptop to a 4K external monitor via Thunderbolt and switch seamlessly between the built-in screen and the external one without any flicker. Now, let's talk about the downsides that matter once the box is opened. First, the battery life. With a 99 Wh pack, you'd hope for a full day of heavy use, but the reality is more modest. When I was running DaVinci Resolve and Revit together, the battery dropped from 100% to 30% in just under 2 hours. That's not a surprise given the CPU's power envelope, but it does mean you need to keep the charger handy if you plan to work away from a desk for longer stretches. Second, the weight. At roughly 7 pounds, the ZBook Fury is solidly built, but it's not something you'll want to toss into a backpack for a coffee shop sprint. If you're a digital nomad who needs a laptop that feels featherlight on a train, this might be a compromise you're not willing to make. Another practical consideration is upgradability. HP markets the Fury line as future-proof, and it lives up to that claim to a degree. The RAM slots are accessible without disassembling the entire chassis, so you can add more memory down the line if your projects grow. However, the SSD is soldered to the motherboard in this particular configuration, which means you're locked into the 1 TB you purchased today. If you anticipate needing more local storage for massive datasets, you'll have to rely on external NVMe enclosures, which adds another piece of hardware to your kit. Who should actually buy this machine? If you're a professional who needs to run multiple demanding applications at once, think video editors, 3D animators, engineers, or data scientists, this laptop checks almost every box. The combination of a top-tier CPU, ample RAM, and a high-resolution display means you can stay on-site, whether you're on a construction site reviewing BM models or at a client's office delivering a finished render. The Workstation also comes with Windows 11 Pro, which adds BitLocker encryption and other business-grade security features that matter if you handle confidential client data. On the flip side, if your day-to-day looks more like email, web browsing, and occasional office work, you'll be paying for capabilities you'll never tap. A mid-range Ultrabook with a 13-inch screen and a more modest processor would deliver the same battery life and portability for a fraction of